Representative Jennifer Gross with us tonight. Woohoo! Oh, it's going to be a good show. I can feel it in my bones. It's not the arthritis either. This is going to be a good show. It is. Not a doubt. All right. Before we get into it, and Jennifer Gross is with us here. We'll be talking to her. Jonathan's with us. Brian Massey is on location. He's doing something. I don't know what he's doing, goofing off. But, hey, you guys, I want to ask you a question here. Jennifer, I'll ask you a question also. Now, you were aware that what happened with James Comey, that he was walking? James Comey was walking. Yeah. He was walking along the beach, and he happened to see these seashells. Okay? And
Yeah.
it's like you want to take the president out. You want to get rid of him. That's the type of thing that Comey is doing. But he says that he didn't know anything about it. You know, he's only the FBI director for who knows how many years, but he didn't know anything about it. But here's what this I find is really amazing. First of all, he goes, Comey goes, well, I just happened to be strolling along the beach and I saw this weird formation with these numbers, and I said to myself, that's got to be something political. So then he pulls out his camera, takes a picture of it, 8647, which means kill the president of the United States, basically, and then he posts it to his social media and everything. But he's saying he has no idea what it means. He's never heard of it before. But, hey, it sounds like something great I'm going to post to social media. Now, I also heard that he was walking along the beach yesterday, Comey was, and he came across another strange formation of seashells. I want to show you this one. What do you think of that? That's what I say. Nice. Throw the bum in jail already. All right, we got to talk about what's happening in your district. You got that award-winning District 45, and there you are. Okay, let's start off here. I want to get your reaction to Yost, okay, and also the State Central Committee and Vivek Ramaswamy. And Tressel. Let's throw Tressel in there, and maybe even we'll throw in Mike DeWine. But okay, so the state party endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy to be the governor, in the end of 2026, okay? Yost said that with that Republican nomination that it went from a steep climb for him to a vertical cliff, okay? And he says that he has no chance of winning. That's what Yost had said. I want to get your thoughts on that, if you don't mind, a little bit. Just pick your brains on that. But Yost also said that he's going to continue to fight for Ohio and Ohioans. And he says, I suspect this is not the final chapter. Yeah. So he said that to the press. I was just like, all right. So he's got something up his sleeve. But so what was your thoughts with the party endorsing Vivek? Was that a good idea?
I endorsed Vivek, Vivek, like cake. And so, I'm not surprised the Republican Party of Ohio endorsed him. I think it was a little premature. I think it's a little early. It's sort of like the build up to the race, like the Derby or something. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, we already determined the winner kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to take any chances. Well, I think that was what was happening with the party. It's like, we're not going to take any chances here. Trump's endorsed him. J.D. Vance has endorsed him. Elon's endorsed. Heck, you endorsed him. Most of the state reps endorsed him, the Republicans. And then the state senators, most of the state senators endorsed him. I mean, I've never seen that before. Somebody come on the scene like that and just get flooded with all those endorsements. But it's a little bit more than that too. He's just like selling out like crazy at the Lincoln Day dinners. He's the new kid in town. Remember that song by the Eagles? The new kid in town. So he's the big, bright, shiny new object that everybody wants. That's how politics is. And if you go around the block twice, you're a has-been. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? So a lot of it is that, but also what does he bring to Ohio that we need so desperately, in your opinion? Or
I think
possibly bring to Ohio?
I think when he started with Doge, I think this is really it talked about the mandate that Ohioans gave when we voted President Trump in as president this time. for the third time. And but I think what it shows is that Ohio is tired of the same old names on the ballot. They're ready for change, and we should be guarded. I mean, we still have to watch a Governor Ramaswamy. We have to watch these people all the time. The people still have their role to play to guard the hen house, if you will, and be sure that they are being treated properly and their liberty is being protected. You know, I think that when you look into Ramaswamy, you can look at his several books and you can see where he stands. He certainly, during his presidential campaign, did have some flip-flopping. So I'm watching for those things. I would just encourage people, though he is the new kid on the block, we have to remember that it's still the role of the people to be the government. We are the government of, for, and by the people. And so we have a role to play even when anyone is elected as governor.
Yeah.
They should not have carte blanche, and they're only part of the executive branch. For me, I'm looking forward to a Governor Ramaswamy coming in and showing up while we're in session and sitting in our lounge and saying, "Hey, I just wanted to talk with you," or showing up at our caucus meetings and really having some open houses. I've been in for almost 5 years, and I have not once been invited to have a private audience with the governor. 5 years.
Wow.
Now, he used to have breakfasts. He used to cordon off the Rhino-esque Republicans, or arguably those that are more like him, and then he would bring in some of the conservatives like me, and the Zeltwingers of the world, and the Scott Wiggums of the world, and the Tom Brinkmans of the world that are no longer, because of term limits, in the legislature. But even though his staff told me 2 years ago he was going to start having breakfast, he has never invited the conservatives to breakfast, and I hold that against him. You know, in order to really, we need to be able to talk to him. And part of that is because, when he forces, seatbelts on people and some of the things that he does, the expansion of government, increased taxes, he knows that I don't agree with those things. But the fact of the matter is, we are 3 separate branches and we still deserve an audience with the governor. And he's never seen fit to call us, and invite us to breakfast. And I really want a governor who is actively involved in the process and actually wants to hear from his legislature, because I see that in DeSantis. Even though I'm not necessarily in agreement with him on everything that he stands for, he actually is so conservative. He calls his legislature on the carpet saying, no. I mean, I want a Governor DeSantis person who says we're giving money back to the federal government. We aren't going to take it. So.
Yeah. Well, DeSantis is top of the line as far as I'm concerned. And they're also working on, and we'll go into this in a few minutes, but property taxes, they're trying to nix the property taxes and stuff. Yeah. Yes. So Florida is where it's at. Ohio needs to get there. Now, Ramaswamy keeps saying that that's what he wants to do. But I like the push that, okay, he wants tourism. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, yeah, Ohio's got to get some tourism. It's like, get this moving. I'm like, yeah, you got that big, beautiful lake out there, which is a fisherman's paradise. Start building it up. I don't know, beach houses for the summer. Do something. Well, but, man, it's got to be something they could do. They got to get tourism.
Do you know how we have the donut tour all over the state? I mean, we don't have a lot of wineries down here. We have a couple of them, and they make their wine down here, but we don't have cool enough weather to grow our own grapes. But we have over 360 wineries in Ohio.
Wow.
To me, we ought to have a wine tour. We ought to have a wine, a trail, a wine trail. And, now we have craft breweries and things like that. There are certainly many ideas of things that we could do to increase tourism in Ohio. And with our German background, certainly our wineries have, a lot of them have a German flair. So, I agree with him.
Well, it's absolutely essential. And, in the summer, it's nice. You got that lake is crazy. I don't know if you ever do any fishing out there. but it's loaded with fish. It's one of the best places in the entire country to go and fish. You got the walleye, you got the perch. And if you got rid of a lot of the commercial fishermen, you'd be catching fish all day long. So it really is wonderful. But there's something. See, this is why they went with Ramaswamy. It's because we needed a fresh face, new ideas, something to get this state moving. Just kick the state in the rear and get it moving already. We need some new blood. And that more than anything. Plus, the guy's a billionaire, so he can self-fund his campaign a little bit easier than, you or I or somebody. You need that money at that level, that governorship there, to win, to be able to pull this off. So, I think it was a good idea. Let me ask I'll throw you in here, and then we'll get back to your bills. But I want, Jonathan, what do you think, man? What was that a good idea with Vivek throwing him in there? And do you fish?
Wow. All right. So that's a whole series of questions in reverse order, and I do all kinds of fishing. Years ago, I got briefly very into fly fishing. I have a couple of rods I was actually just doing a little tune-up work on, but. On the Vivek thing, I'll tell you, I'm torn. I'm conflicted on the answer to that, and frankly, I could argue either for or against the endorsement. I mean, it's water over the dam at this point. Vivek Ramaswamy has been endorsed by the Ohio Republican Party, but I'm going to throw a couple of things out there because I'm hoping that I can kind of temper the opinion and the focus and attention of our audience. First of all, we've been talking for a long time, 2 years now on this show, about the Columbus cartel, how swampy it is. I've actually said in the past, I've made the specific comment that of those people that I don't like and that I don't trust, and I'm tired of the musical chairs, I actually have looked at Dave Yost's positions on a lot of issues, and I like him. I was not, and I'm not, to the point where I'm endorsing or would endorse Dave Yost. But then again, I'm not and would not endorse Vivek Ramaswamy. The problem that I see with both of them is I was hoping for a more normal political process where we could watch them. I really wanted to watch, and I was specifically, because we see a lot from Vivek Ramaswamy. He's all over the TV and the news and media, and he has been for a year now because of Doge and all that stuff. But I was actually looking forward to hearing a lot more from Yost, because I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt and assume that the reason that he had good positions but seemed spineless is because he had kind of no backup in Columbus. And that is actually true. I would have liked to have seen more spine from him. My reason for bringing all of that up is let's not get caught up in this whole flashy panache of the Vivek Ramaswamy campaign and overlook our due diligence. We, the people, have to be looking at him with a magnifying glass and a fine-tooth comb going through his past. I've found some things personally that I'm not excited about and that concern me. I really encourage everybody, is that we've seen this in the past. And I know it's an unpopular analogy, but it still does kind of fit to talk about how the world was treating Obama when Barack Obama came out of pretty much nowhere and had this amazing looking resume, albeit all these little short stints at various places that made him look amazing on paper. And then look what happened. I'm not suggesting that's the case with Vivek Ramaswamy, but I am saying that I'm not willing to cross it off the list of possibilities. I'm looking with scrutiny at what steps that he took to get him to where he is. That includes all of it, because candidly, I'm tired of the musical chairs, the swamp uniparty cabal in Columbus that have virtually destroyed our state. I'm old enough to remember when we were one of the best states in the union for things like education, jobs growth. We had a number of Fortune 500 companies here, and we were proud to be Ohioans.
Oh, yeah. Ohio,
I look forward to the day we get back to that.
Ohio one time was a big player, man. We were right up there. One of the biggest cities. Cleveland was one of the biggest cities in the entire country at one time. It's kind of fallen by the wayside. But I want to ask you, Jennifer, real quick, just to wrap this thing up. I want to get your thoughts here on Yost, not Yost. I'm sorry, on Tressel. What's your thoughts on Tressel? Is there? Do you think he's going to try maybe to make a run for governor? And
I do, and I think it's a mistake because he just came on the scene, and I think he's using his coachness. That's my made-up word to be. But he is a known donor to many Democrats, and he says those were teammates, that have run for office and things. And I get all of that, but the fact of the matter is, are you really a Republican if the majority or a large portion of your donations were to Democrats? I'm just not convinced. He doesn't have any background in the executive branch. Yes, he ran a college, but that's way different than the seventh largest state in the union.
Yeah, totally different. You better believe it.
So I mean, I don't think he's a bad person, but as a governor, no, I don't see it.
Now let's switch gears here. Let's talk about Medicaid work requirements. Okay.
Yes.
Now are you the chair of the Medicaid committee?
Yes.
You are.
I am currently the chair of the Medicaid committee, and although I know the speaker was happy with what I did on the committee, I know he's unhappy that I voted against the budget. I was one of only six Republicans that voted against the budget. And so for now, yes, I am the chair of Medicaid.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute here. For what I understand, there is this resolution. Let me just plug this up here for a second. Where's this thing at? All right, here it is. Okay, so here's this is the Senate Concurrent Resolution 5. And this is the Kyle Kohler, and then you got a lot of co-sponsors. Lots and lots and lots, and you're in there too as one of the co-sponsors. Mm-hmm. Lots and lots and lots and lots of practically everybody. Okay, so
that's because it passed out. Remember, when a bill becomes a law, it has to start in a chamber, and since it's a Senate concurrent resolution, it started in the Senate under Senator Kaler, and there the senators voted on it and co-sponsored it. Then it went through my committee because it has to then be heard in the House committee. Then it comes onto the House floor, and it was voted out completely. Listen to this. Completely down party lines. The Democrats voted against this resolution, stating that people that are healthy, able-bodied, not drug addicted, not in school, that people that are able-bodied should work a minimum of 20 hours a week. And that includes school, looking for a job, training to get a job, taking care of a handicapped person for no pay, their family member, or getting drug rehabilitation. All of these things are carved out. We just want people to be productive, which will increase their even self-worth, and our businesses in Ohio need these people to go back to work. So
this concurrent resolution, just so I understand it, because I've really never heard of it, a concurrent resolution until now. But basically, so you're kind of like petitioning the White House, right, or Congress. You're petitioning Congress to say, hey, we want to do work requirements for Medicaid because you get so much money for Medicaid from the federal government. Right. The biggest chunk is from the federal government for Ohio Medicaid. And so now you got to go to the Congress to say, hey, we want to put these work requirements in, right?
That's right, Joe.
And that's what that is. Okay, so...
Can I explain?
Yeah,
a little
go ahead.
bit about that? So I want people to understand that when Kasich expanded into the Group 8 expansion, these people are able-bodied people. These are not the disabled, the blind, the moms, the pregnant moms, the babies, the children. These are the working class people. When he expanded those people onto Medicaid, the government, the federal government, part of the reason Republicans included, and Kasich was a Republican, the reason they did this was because for every 10 cents Ohio spends, we get 90 cents from the federal government, which means they essentially own us. right? We're indebted to them because they give us 90 cents for these benefits for every 10 cents we spend. So what that means is under Medicaid, and our director of Medicaid, Director Corcoran, agrees with this waiver, but we have to go back to the federal government because they give us so much money, and we have to say, please, pretty please, will you let us put our group 8 people, the people that can work, back to work? We have to ask the federal government. So we have sent that in what we call a waiver, a note to the HHS, a note to the Department of Medicaid at the federal level, and said, we want this waiver, we want to do this. This resolution says, please accept our waiver. Please accept our request. Please hear us. We have voted as an entire legislature. We agree. Please hear us. That's it.
Okay. And like, is there a status on it yet? Has anybody heard it? Has it gone to Congress yet? And have they read it? And have they given any feedback?
We literally just voted this out on Wednesday. So Senator Kaler, my presumption is that he will be sending that to Congress. And again, this is a resolution, isn't law, but it is a love letter, so to speak, to Congress and to HHS and to the president saying, we want this. And then to put the entire legislature, well, minus all of the Democrats, I don't think there was one Democrat that supported this, which is really unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. It's very strange. Why would it be along party lines so much? Why would this be along party lines? Like you said, it just makes common sense. If you're under 55, you're healthy, work 20 hours a week to get Medicaid. How is that going to kill you? Because it helps you. You got to stay busy. You got to keep working. You got to keep those job skills, whatever they might be. Just talking with people, interpersonal communications. Yeah, you have to do that
for people.
You're gonna get, that's what causes a lot of trouble when people aren't working.
The Democrats use social programs as a carrot to say, they use them against Republicans, quite frankly. If you don't vote for us, you're going to lose all your free stuff. And yet, really, mankind is meant to produce. We're meant to do things that make us feel like we have value, that we contribute to our society, that we are giving something to our fellow man. The Democrats just have everything all backward. Work gives a person a value, a feeling of self-worth. And not only that, if you get training, which you can be doing under this work requirement, you can be going to school and that covers you under this work. As long as you're doing 20 hours a week of school, you're good. You're training for a new job. You get a better job. Then you get a job. Guess what? You get training in that job, and then you have upward mobility, and you just might get off Medicaid. And I think that is the final reason, the final answer why Democrats don't want this, because their constituency, a lot of them in some of the deeper blue districts, they believe they can't survive without the government. And yet we believe we could give them upward mobility and get them off of Medicaid. So,
well, you got to. I never understood these entitlements and people not working and things like that. It's our tax dollars funding all this. Makes no sense. It's got to be stopped.
Right.
And but okay, well that's great. So you're the chair of the Medicaid. That is awesome. Anything else you want to add? You have a few other bills. I guess we'll get hopping to them. Is there anything else on Medicaid? I mean, it's probably the most important topic. That's where all the waste, fraud, and abuse comes from. That line item in the budget. That's the huge one. Yeah.
The week before, we passed a bill, Representative LaRae and Democrat Representative Brennan. We passed a bill stating that if you go on Medicaid, and you own a home, and you're, over 65 and you go on Medicaid, that once you pass away, the state can claw back your benefits. And a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't know that, they wouldn't have gone on Medicaid. And then the Democrats and the Republicans fight, well, they won't go on Medicaid. Well, you need to have all the information. I would go further. I would say if you're under 65 and you own things, that we should be able to come back. I mean, we need to disincentivize, like you said, entitlement programs. People need to go back to work. our Medicaid and our benefits in Ohio give people too much. Ask any small business owner and they will tell you it's true. And that is a sign that if people are getting so much not working, we need to pull back so that it disincentivizes people and they have incentive to go back to work. So
I think that's absolutely true. Joe, can I interject some comments? I have been at various points a small business owner and done the hiring and firing myself. So some of this I can speak to from personal experience. And I will interject that I have never hired any illegal aliens. I'm going to preface my comments with that.
Good job, Jonathan.
But thank you. One important element here that I want to put out there for our tax-paying Ohioan audience is we're kind of double paying. We're not kind of, we are, for workforce, for labor in parts of the Ohio workforce. What I mean by that is if we're paying American citizens, preferably, presumably American citizens, to not work and sit at home who are able-bodied and capable, but at the same time, we have the leftists who have worked this whole open border thing and brought people in and are using taxpayer dollars to get in foreign workforce, then it's an outrage. We are actually paying our taxpayers are funding two different elements of a non-productive society. We're paying good people not to work, and then we're paying people to come in and take those jobs from out of the country. I am opposed diametrically to both elements of that.
And isn't that so frustrating to the middle-class single mom who's trying to put food on the table, who just bought, I was just talking to a realtor. She had a single mom of two, just bought her brand new condo, finally has her home for the first time that she can provide for her children. She started looking and bought a house in a week in Ohio, and the mom is just so happy. But how does that disincentivize the single working parent who is trying to put food on the table, and then someone else is a single non-working parent? They don't have disabled children, they're not disabled, and they're not working. I mean, it disincentivizes the person that, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of people want to stay home with their kids and they can't because they're contributing to our economy. And you know, there are hard choices to be made, but we cannot give so many incentives that people don't go to work. Businesses need people to go back to work.
Yep.
Absolutely. Let's get, I'm going to move on to another bill that you have here. This one is called House Bill 120, and you are featured there. Look at that. Okay. So tell us about House Bill 1. What is this? Which one?
120.
Is this? 120. House Bill 120. What is that?
With my lovely Democrat co-sponsor. He's just such a lovely man, Representative Brewer. They made fun of me in testimony, but he's just so kind. I just wish he wasn't a Democrat because, you know, they all seem to support abortion, and that bothers me. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the exempting sales and firearm safety devices from sales and use taxes. So it requires a vendor to notify consumers of the exemption on the premises where firearms are sold and upon the sale of a firearm. So if you want to buy a safe, which, you know, safes are not cheap, or you want to buy, you know, any kind of a gun lock and things that protect a gun case, a lockbox, a gun safe, any combination or biometric data to, you know, a system that requires the use of a key, anything that would help increase safety with firearms is tax exempt. Now, I would like to add classes to this. Representative Brewer has a separate bill for that, and we had discussed adding this to the bill. But I also agree that if you take a firearm safety course, that also ought to be tax exempt. We had 30 children that had accidental shootings in Ohio in 2023, and if we could save one life because we encourage people to use safety devices, I think that that's good. For me, this is the beginning because I think moms demand action are actually for this bill. They will hate my next bill, which is constitutional carry cleanup. And I hope that we'll be able to talk about that more next month. So we'll kind of leave that as a little teaser for next month. But this is a great bill. We had sponsor testimony this past week in Ways and Means, and we hope to have proponent testimony either this coming week or the week after. So it's a great bill, no question. And I think the cost to the bottom line of the GRF is about $1.3 million it would cost the taxpayer, if you will. So we wouldn't, it would come out of our operating budget. So, but I really think that it will encourage people to buy that safe, buy the lock, and do that kind of thing.
So they don't have to pay any sales tax on it. That's a great idea. It's a great idea. I like it.
All right, so I've got questions and comments.
On that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think Representative Gross knows this, but at one point in the past, in a group, a very large group that did some tactical weapons training, I drew short straw and I served as president of a gun club. We did tactical training, hardening of facilities, those kinds of things. And a few things. I'm a huge advocate of courses and training. And I'm an advocate of the safety materials that Rep. Gross is talking about. So a few comments and a question for Rep. Gross. The comments are to our listening audience. Absolutely. Even if you don't plan to handle a firearm, you can take courses where you don't actually pick anything up, but they will instruct you about being near weapons safely. If somebody shows up in a room or that sort of thing, it's not necessarily self-defense, but at least having some basic knowledge of the functions and functionality of weapons can help you. If you do decide to carry or purchase and own firearms, you can never have too much training. Please go out and train. Here's where I want to get some clarification. And that is, with the courses and in order to qualify for tax exemption, is there any sort of tracking mechanism? And where I'm headed with this is, I believe it's Connecticut, started with some requirements around, this wasn't optional, it was requirements around what they considered safe storage of firearms. And then now actually there are penalties and they can go and inspect homes. I'm concerned if we don't look at the tea leaves properly.
This is just if you purchase it in a store, you don't have to pay taxes. There is nothing in this bill that it doesn't go anywhere close to coming into your home or anything like that. It doesn't require it. It's to incentivize people to use more safety devices. You already have to, if you are a foster parent or you adopt, you already are required to in your home safety plan and inspection for adoption, you're already required to lock up your guns when you do stuff like that. This is simply a way to hopefully incentivize people to buy that gun safe for $2,000, because that's quite a hefty savings on taxes, sales tax when you buy it. The smaller devices, obviously not so much, but this is just to incentivize people to buy them. And there is nothing around that would be a whole other portion of the law, Jonathan, that would say that people then would come in and inspect whether you had one or not. No, absolutely. And as a Republican who's pro-Second Amendment, I absolutely would oppose that.
No, good. Absolutely. You bring up a good point, however, and that is when you're in the foster care system and choosing to adopt, you're required to do certain reporting, which puts the names of those people on a list. For better or for worse, you have Child Protective Services and you have certain agencies that are aware of the status of that home. And if they are gun owners, then they're on a list.
That's true.
What has happened in Connecticut, and what I would hesitate to even start to venture down the road toward, is any sort of list or database that's connected with people choosing to go through any sort of qualifying course or to purchase gun safety equipment. So
of course, absolutely.
So the question becomes, is it anonymous?
Yeah, with OGO, there would be no any, we don't even have tracking, or we shouldn't, remember that when you purchase a gun, we don't have tracking on that. I mean, if you're going to apply for a gun, you still have to go through that process. So it depends on how nefarious you believe that our system is already currently. I do not believe in tracking our credit cards and some of the stuff that happened with PayPal and some of the things during COVID. But that's why I will protect fiercely our gun fairs and things that we have, like in our convention centers and things like that. So I will protect the Second Amendment to the nth degree, and with OGO, Ohio gun owners, and then to some extent Buckeye Firearms, I do believe that they are out and watching those types of things to be sure that our Second Amendment, which shall not be infringed, is fiercely protected in Ohio. And under my watch, we will not stand for any kind of infringement on the Second Amendment. While I'm here, we will fight, and we will make sure that gun owners and everyone in Ohio knows where they stand and that their Second Amendment is protected.
Hang on a second. Let's take a question from the chat. And by the way, if you want to chat, please throw a chat in. We will talk about it. So let's do this one here, if you don't mind. It says, "Why are homes sitting empty for months that Medicaid and Medicare and being sold? These homes deteriorate, sitting empty for so long. Sell them and use the money." Is that? I'm not familiar with that whole premise. Are you at all familiar with that?
No, I don't know. Most of the homes that are out there are. I mean, we're selling homes. Homes are being sold. As fast
not really
as
sure how Medicaid plays into that. I don't know. But there's a lot of things I don't know. All right, let's look.
Sorry, I don't understand that question.
Yeah, sorry, we can't help you with that question. Let's try this one here real quick because I think this is something about the grid regarding.
Love this question.
Regarding EMPs, and I don't even know what an EMP is, but regarding
electromagnetic pulse.
Okay.
Yep.
Regarding electric magnetic pulse and the grid, is there anything that is being or can be done at the state level to protect the grid?
Louise Irene, I am so thankful you asked that question. It has been on my radar. There's a movie called Grid Down, Power Up, and I encourage everyone to watch that. And we just passed HB 15. And as far as I understand, and as far as I know, we have done nothing to protect our grid. And we know that when you watch Grid Down, Power Up, it's a movie, so just Google it. You will see that when our grid went down, there was a state well known to us, Ohio actually, where a tree fell on a power line, and it caused a massive disruption in energy in several states, and they found that it was Ohio. We are at risk. We are at risk for EMPs. We are also at risk for attacks on our power grid system. That is something that we haven't looked at. I have a bill, but quite honestly, there are so many things going on. I put it to the back burner, and I would love to carry a bill for that. It's very complicated, but an EMP, as you well know, Louise Irene, really an EMP, there isn't much that can be done for that. But as far as an attack on our grid, I think that we can harden our grid a lot better, and we should.
Absolutely. I just want to remind everybody, too, that we are on X, that we are on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. The Facebook is really starting to grow. Hey, Kent, you're out there for a second. Are you with us tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Facebook is really starting to grow, isn't it? It's starting to really take off.
Yeah, we're kicking off on Facebook, and just make sure to, like we're watching. Yeah, make sure to share. We're Share it anywhere you can, because sharing is caring in this social media platforms, especially on Rumble. Make sure to. I know you might see some ads, but those help us. If you can also support us, there's a Rumble rant down at the bottom. There's a $sign in the chat. If you could do any kind of
donations.
Amount,
we will gladly accept any donations, anything.
And
even cryptocurrency. We'll take cryptocurrency.
Right. And so, yeah, make sure. And then we also have the 24/7 on Rumble. Make sure, because as soon as this show is over, we'll be putting it up on the 24/7. So if you did miss it or want to rewatch anything, we do have it as entire, but we'll be also running other shows, especially with Representative Gross on a couple every month. She's on there multiple times, and which is great. At least you can cover other bills throughout the time. But make sure to follow us on Facebook. We are growing there. Or like us on Facebook. Follow us on Rumble. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do that too. We are on YouTube. And especially go to our website, ohiopoliticalnews.com. There are a couple places to support us with the shop. And if you want to send a donation, we appreciate that. And one last thing I wanted to say, we are trying to get out there to Ohio. If there is a event, something that you want us to cover, please let us know. It's Joe at ohiopoliticalnews.com or Kent at ohiopoliticalnews.com. We can basically, if you let us know ahead of time, we can get out there, live stream it, cover it, and just let people know what's going on in Ohio. We want to cover the news in Ohio, so please let us know. Thanks, Joe.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, absolutely, thanks. Let's talk property taxes. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's listen to this guy for 1 second here. I want to.
Only now that the taxes have gotten so high that folks literally can't afford them are they waking up and calling for help. Suddenly, people are being taxed out of their own homes. Seniors are being hit the worst. But everyone is suffering from this, and so everyone's been raising their hand and saying, this has got to stop. The problem is, at every level of government, they've gotten so addicted to our money that the immediate response you get when you say, we need to reform property taxes, they go, oh, how will government afford this? It's like, government's not paying the bills. Government doesn't afford anything. We're the ones paying, and we're telling you. We're not asking, we're telling you we can't afford it anymore. And I'm not really concerned with what you have to cut or what hard times your government agency is going to go through. Government is supposed to sacrifice for and serve the people, not the other way around.
No, that's a good point. I thought he hit on some really good points there. I want to get your take on that, Jennifer. The property taxes. Let's be realistic here. The property taxes have become out of our league for a lot of people. They were always high to begin with, but now they're too high, and especially if you're on Social Security or something like that, people are losing their homes. Okay,
that's right. And
what Plushnik says there is really good. It's like, wait a minute, the government works for us. We don't work for the government. Right. The government has to make. They have to make do with less, not us. We're not giving up our vacation, groceries, things like that, going out to eat. The government's got to cut programs, salaries, people, whatever.
That's right.
Okay, so
one of the reasons that I voted against, and I had a really good conversation with the speaker, and again, he wasn't very pleased with me, to say the least, for voting against the budget. But we didn't deliver property tax reform for the people. I've heard numerous things about what will happen if we have to do this. And, one of the things that I told him was that if we could have at least delivered some type of relief for my 65 and over, if we couldn't deliver, what I want is property tax relief for everyone. Now, I have a new bill with Rep. Lorenz. It's not much, but it gives $300 property tax relief per year times 5 years to anyone who's lived in their home for a year or more. That's everyone, because we need property tax relief for everyone. If they had come to me and I said, I want $1,000 each year for property tax relief for people that are 65 and over that have lived in their homes for 10 years. If they said, we can't do that, we need 20 years. Okay, 20 years. We can't do 1,000, we can do 500. But they came to me with nothing. Representative Beth Lear had a fabulous bill that was just that. It was, I think, approximately $300 or $500 for those that were 65 and over per year in property tax relief. And they said we couldn't afford it. And it's like, well, but we're increasing spending. And to your point, Joe, to your point, I said the exact same thing. Why do we as a government get to come to you, the people, and say that, well, you know, inflation is 3.5% per year and that's 7%. I don't know about you guys, but my husband didn't get a 7% raise in his evil capitalistic company. They're not evil. They're actually a great company. He finally works for a private company now, because he used to work for a company that treated him like garbage. But he probably doesn't. I probably shouldn't say that. At least you don't know what company it was. But they were a publicly held company that treated him horribly, and he got about a 1% raise. That was the average raise per year. And yet the government says, oh, well, you know, inflation is 3.5%, and we didn't increase it much. We increased it with inflation. Yet the people are having to stretch their dollar and stretch for $5. You know, used to be under Biden, $5 a dozen eggs. You know, why? Why can't we cut our programs? You know what I've heard? Not only am I pleased at the people now, we have 40 bills, 40 of them. And HB 28 under Adam Matthews was a fabulous bill. And I'm a co-sponsor to that bill, and it passed. That was the one that says that renewal levies, you can't do those. You have to have a new levy. And you also, we have three different, we won't go into the three types of levies, but that bill, HB 28, will prevent people's property tax from going up because people didn't understand what a renewal levy really did. If your house value increased and you renewed a levy, you paid more because your property value went up. But people thought it was the same amount. It wasn't. You were voting to increase your taxes. Those are going to be no more after HB 28. Now, I don't know that it's passed the Senate, so it still has to pass the Senate, but it has passed the House. We have 40 different bills, all different kinds. We have the Gold Star Wife bill. We have my new bill. We have 20 mil floor bills. I really like that one as well. But we didn't deliver for you, the Ohio people, and I'm sad about that. I am very, very aware. Yet we gave $600 million to a stadium in Cleveland, and yet the people are saying, to the point where Brian is now working on this amendment to go on the ballot to prevent property tax. Now, this is what the legislature is saying, though, if this passes, just to be fair. A lot of people talk about, they say that we are going to, we're going to have to increase sales tax if this amendment passes. And my understanding is there isn't an appetite to decrease our spending.
Well, you know, I had to laugh because I think it was Jerry Serino who said, I was reading, where, well, we have to balance the budget. And, you know, that's tough. It's a tough task for us and everything.
Makes me so angry.
But,
can I please interrupt?
Yeah, but the point here is that the budget always goes up every year. It's go up. The state budget is higher, and you're balancing it. Well, big deal. Big deal. You're just taking more tax dollars to do it.
Right. So what is that doing for you, the people? When we balance the budget and we say, okay, last year we needed 198 billion, and this year we need 210 billion. Now, as long as we spend 210 billion, are you okay with that? You're like, wait a minute, you just increased 12 billion. Yeah, but we balanced the budget.
Yeah, we balanced the budget. All right, let's ask this. I would want to try to get the chat people, and let's see if we can make heads or tails of this one here. It says, I'm sorry I was not clear with my question. People who are put in a nursing home and are on Medicare or Medicaid and cannot pay for their care in the care facility. Medicare and Medicaid take control of the home. These homes are set empty for months. Why not get it sold ASAP?
I think Gary, what that is it's the speed of government. The speed of business works at a rate that you expect because it's private entity. But when you have someone who, say, was in a nursing home and passed away, it takes a considerable, even my mother unfortunately passed away in 2023. It takes at least a year to really get all those affairs in order and to settle everything. I mean, even under reasonable circumstances, when someone passes away. So then you add the complication of the fact that it has to be a clawback from the government, and all the T's have to be crossed and the I's have to be dotted. Plus it's government, and government, as you well know, Gary, is not fast. It takes a little bit longer because it is a clawback. Ohio, unfortunately or fortunately, we are at one of the top 10 states for clawing back that money. And quite frankly, I expect to see with an AG, a new AG, which will probably be Faber, I expect to see some more Medicaid fraud charges because we have hundreds of thousands of people that are doing Medicaid fraud. And we are aware of it, but we are trying to figure out how we are going to come after these people. And I have no time at all for people that own businesses and then they lie and they drive Cadillac Escalades and then they don't claim their income. We are coming after you because that is fraud. And we are aware of it. I just don't know what we're going to do yet.
Got to Doge, Ohio. That's what we got to do.
That's right.
All right. I'll let you get this last question in, and I'll get Jonathan's take on it as well. Let's just talk for a minute about issue 2, okay? So issue 2 was the issuance of bonds. To me, it was like a slush fund. That's been my stance on it.
Yes.
Your thoughts, a little bit of thoughts, if you want to talk about it at all on issue 2.
I mean, it passed with 588,000 votes out of how many voters in Ohio? And it passed during a May election, knowing that was going to be on the ballot in a time when I would say the last thing I saw was 6% of the vote in Butler County. Now, Butler County voted for it at about 65%, but I want to point out that 3 counties, one handily, Claremont County handily defeated at 53% no, 47% yes. 2 other counties, Piqua, my understanding is Piqua defeated it. And then also Conshohocken. So praise you for those 3 counties. Anyone from those 3 counties, thank you for voting. I have to say, I mean, I was outnumbered. I stood up in caucus and said, I know I'm in the minority of this majority, but I disagree. And there were only 4 of us, 3 of us left in the legislature today that voted against placing this on the ballot. People didn't even understand how it got there. We put it on the ballot. Your legislature put it there. It was your legislator and it was your representation that put it on the ballot and allowed this to occur. So we were the facilitator of putting it on the ballot. Because you have 2 ways in Ohio of getting something on the ballot. You can go through the legislature or the citizens can put it on. I love that about our Constitution. But so you should be really, anyone who's unhappy with this should have been and should be writing your representative and your senator and saying, shame on you. I didn't want that. You shouldn't have done that because it would have never gotten on the ballot if we wouldn't have put it there. So it was a very complicated process, and you're right. I mean, I consider it a slush fund. I mean, I had people coming after me, well, Jennifer, this isn't GRF money. And I'm like, I don't really care because the bottom line is your money. The bottom line is we're spending more of your money and we're not tightening our bootstraps, but you are. That is the bottom line. And you could say to you, again, I've seen you so many times throughout the state, and I know that you're very kind and that you support so many of us that are out there fighting for liberty. So thank you, Andy.
Excellent. Jonathan, I'll let you talk here for a minute, but you had an interesting take on issue 2 with the bonds and all that. I don't know if you want to go that direction or not, but Got to turn your mic on, or turn your microphone on.
He's muted.
I was muted. Sorry. I had some background noise here. I forgot I muted myself. First thing is a tip of the hat and great respect and acknowledgement to Andy. Andy's been all over the state. There are some people that fight for Ohio, and then there's some next level people. Andy, you're awesome. You're a hero. Thank you for all that you do. I follow you on social media. If you're listening to this, go find Andy. I think we'll bring his name back up again. I don't want to get it wrong. But my comments on issue 2, there it is, Andy Ryan Hesselbart. Andy Ryan Hesselbart, go find him on social media. You want to find the people who are out there fighting and battling for you, for us, for Ohio. That's Andy. And I have great respect for him. So issue 2 is, first of all, it's not a bond fund. It was mislabeled intentionally to confuse people. They do it all the time. The bonds desks that I've worked with through decades of work on and off of Wall Street, bonds are very specific. This is not. And what the heck? We're in the era of Doge. Issue 2 is the opposite of Doge, exact polar opposite. What we're trying to do is rein in government spending, and what issue 2 did was said, well, for decades have been saying there's massive waste in government. It's going to be painful, but we need to make some deep cuts.
That's right.
That's literally a direct quote, and over again from the left.
Including Ohio.
Now we actually have the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, including Ohio. I mean, listen. Yeah. I don't know how many are in our Doge caucus, but I would say we at least have 20 to 25 Ohio Republicans in our Doge caucus. Did you guys see Doge in the budget? That's all I'm going to say. I don't think so.
Well, as we have said before, I think if you're going to have a viable Doge committee, it's almost got to be made up of people that aren't
outside
state reps, because they're too close to the forest. And you need somebody like with the federal government. You had Elon and his group come in there and Doge, but you would never have gotten anywhere if you had Congress Doge themselves. That would be such a joke.
So would a Governor Ramaswamy have some friends that could Doge Ohio? Maybe he does. Maybe he could attract. Could you imagine what Elon Musk could do in Ohio just if he went? What if he took 1 month, or let's say 1 month, and he starts with the top 12 states in the first year, and he takes 1 month per state with his people, and he doges every state. We're number 7, so he does the first 12 if they want it. But even if they don't, it'll cause the people in that state to rise up, perhaps, and say, "Look what they found here. What are you guys going to do about this?" I'd love that.
Oh, that would be great. Hey, one last question before I let you go here. Just imparting thoughts with the budget. I mean, where does the budget stand? How much is it going to be? Anything you want to talk or add to that real quick? I mean,
well, I'm hearing some rumblings that potentially my Senator Lang's flat tax might be in there, and that there could be some action on the 20 mil floor related to the schools. If one or both of those are in there, I may have to hold my nose, even with that $600 million for the Cleveland Browns Stadium in there, because I need to deliver property tax reform and or income tax reform to my constituency. That is what I needed to be able to, as a conservative, but I can't say because I don't know what other garbage is in there. The budget itself is 5,300 pages. I encourage everyone to go to lscohio.gov and search for their key item, whatever they're looking for that's waste, whatever they're looking for they want, and really just dive into that because it's there in a PDF form. There will be a comp doc, so a comprehensive document that compares the House version to the Senate version. We are due to pass the budget by June 30th, so that is required by statute in Ohio. So the Senate has little bit more time to work on it. And I did reach out to my counterpart, Senator Romanchuk, regarding Medicaid. I've heard nothing. He said he didn't have any questions. I have had some contact with Senator Huffman, who asked me, oh, I can't say, but I don't want to speak for him. But I do have some others and other people that have talked to me, who talked to me about pork in our version of the budget. And, I said, hey, I voted no on it. So, my understanding is we were not to put specific, like money requests for our particular districts in the budget, but in fact, there are some specific money requests per representatives that are in there. And I don't think that's right when you're talking about a state operating budget to put your personal district things in there. And there are just other things. There's waste in there.
There's got to be so much in there we're not aware of. 5,300 pages. 5,300. I mean,
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that sounds worse. That sounds worse than the federal. The federal government.
Gotta vote for it before you know what's in it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm sure all the state reps are gonna comb through every one of those 5,300 pages, yes. Right? Yeah, come on.
It's lovely.
Well, Jennifer, thank you again. I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show. We really enjoy this. Really, really enjoy it. And
thank you, Rep. Gross.
Guys, I can't believe how fast it's been over an hour. And I just want to remind you that I live in Southwest Ohio, so I don't fish much up at the lake.
Okay.
It's about a 4.5 hour drive for me from the corner. I am literally 30 minutes from Kentucky and 30 minutes from the Indiana border.
Gotcha. So, that's a great place. That's a really.
I do support Representative DJ Swearingen and Representative Brennan's bill to make the walleye the state fish.
Oh, right. That's Ken would even go for that, right? Ken, are you listening? Yeah, he's a big walleye. He's a big walleye fan. Yeah.
I hear it's tasty.
Just wish
I've never had it.
Oh, they taste delicious. They're just not the biggest fighting fish. They're good size, but they don't put a whole lot of. They don't put a whole lot of fight into it.
Do they have fishy fish? Are they fishy tasting? Or are they
it's delicious. Oh,
can't wait. But hey, speaking
walleye
of
and perch, you can live on that for the rest of your life. Walleye and perch. You don't need anything else.
Well, speaking of tourism, I just want you to know the walleye fishing people that come to fish walleye brings in almost $2 billion or more dollars per year in fishing licenses and contests and things like that. So we got to take care of those walleye and make sure they're reproducing a lot.
Yeah, make sure they keep reproducing. You better believe it. Well, thanks again, Jennifer.
Thanks,
really appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you.
It's my pleasure, and thank you so much for being willing to host me and have me on your show. I really appreciate
we enjoy it. It's our pleasure. We enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We learn a lot each time. Thanks, Rep. Gross.
Thank you all. And I guess, is Brian here or no?
Brian couldn't make it tonight, so
bummer.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to go over a few of the things that he was going to talk about with his. He ran into some red tape with the property tax issues with the state government. Walleye is a great fish to eat, as good or better than striped bass. It is.
Makes you hungry just thinking about it.
Yeah, and perch is awesome too. You can't top perch either. It's so much fun. So much fun.
Thanks.
Have a good night. God bless
Thanks, you guys too.
Jonathan,
right.
I just want to paraphrase some stuff from Brian and maybe get your thoughts on it real quick. But he couldn't be on tonight because he's got that amendment. He's doing that property.
It's understandable. Brian's busy.
Oh, he's a workhorse. He's a
tremendous
workhorse. So, just so people understand, Brian Massey, who's usually on the show, and Keith Davies and other people too, have put together a constitutional amendment for Ohio to eliminate property taxes. So, what you had to do, the first step was it had to go to the Attorney General, and they had to approve the title and the language that was used. And Attorney General Dave Yost approved it. And he had to get over 1,000 signatures and give it to him. And if he doesn't approve it, then there's more red tape. But he approved it. Then they had to go to the ballot board. And the ballot board was, I wanted to show you something on the ballot board if I can find it. The ballot board had to say if it was one issue or two issues, okay? And that passed with no problems. I'm going to dig this up because it's kind of good. Now, just more red tape. So they have to get the signatures, but the state has not been helping them. The state has not been helping them with actually, Jennifer, if you're still here, I want to ask you a quick question since you didn't
I am still with you.
Can you answer a quick question? Yes, I saw you're still with me. Hey, some of the red tape that Brian is running into is, okay, he went to the ballot board. They said that it's just one issue, but they were the Attorney General was supposed to send him a packet of information within 10 to 30 days. When he inquired more information about it, nothing specific, he doesn't know if he's getting anything for the petitions or if he has to write the petitions up himself to circulate. He can't get answers. He talked to some staff people from LaRose who said that they don't give out any legal advice. It's like, so I wish he was on here tonight. We could delve a little bit more into that. But, that's just so much of the red tape. The red tape with the government.
Well, that means that it's time for the people of Ohio to write the AG and ask him and the office what they can do to help and to clearly give direction, because he has accepted the petition. So it would make sense to me that since he accepted the petition, that he would give direction on next steps, right?
Right, and that's really what was facilitated at the ballot board, but it doesn't seem like that is what's actually happening. So
let's see. No, sorry. I wonder, did anybody ask Grok? Because I don't know the process.
Grok?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Grok is a big help. He really is a big help. I've asked Grok a lot of questions, and
I'm gonna throw this out there. If you can't figure it out, I will ask my office. We will call the AG and we will find out what do we need to do. And of course, the best answer for Brian is to reach out to his own legislator and to say, I have done this, I'm spearheading this, and actually his legislator, whoever that is, should be the one to help him go through this process, because that is what a representative government does. And your representative is supposed to, yes, represent you. And so your representative should be the one who does that. But since I don't know if he needs some help, I'd be happy, because I need to know. And I will be helping with that petition. I will be going to my district because I want to know, does my district want this? I suspect the answer is yes. And so if I'm wrong, then I will find out. But I will start, of course, with my Republicans, and then I will go from there. But by the way, I did want you guys to know that the 6 murder threats, the guy that made the 6 murder threats against me has been arrested. So,
wow.
But I will be going door to door to meet with my constituency. I miss them. I love talking with them, and I will be asking them because, property tax affects police and fire. How are the local municipalities going to pay for this? How are they going to pay for schools? What is going to happen with this? It's going to make the government, it's going to make your legislature work really, really hard, which I am totally fine with. But we also need to come up with a solution, and we must lower our spending. But we also need to, as we do this petition, we need to be honest and upfront with our constituents about what is this going to look like. It could be painful, and that's okay.
Could be.
It is okay.
It could be. We don't know. But I know that the spending is off the charts.
Yep.
And it's just too much tied to the House. And we're not afraid. We're not against spending for these services. It's just we don't want to tie to the. We just don't want it tied to the House.
Exactly.
Spend
Agreed.
spend appropriately, and we don't want it tied to the house. So I'm going to use an analogy. Sometimes these work to land a point. I did some scuba diving years ago. I did some really interesting scuba diving. I actually got to go cage diving with great whites, which was awesome. But there's kind of a common philosophy that circulates among people who scuba dive, and it has to do with maintaining coral reef. Coral reef are fundamental to cleaning our oceans and our water. They're beautiful. They're amazing. But something was figured out a long time ago when scuba came along. People were going and snapping off and breaking little pieces of coral reef to take with them. And decades ago, it looked like there's plenty of coral reef, no big deal. If I just take this little chunk, I can keep it as a memento. And they would put it in their BCD, their vest, and they would like surface and take it back as a little memento. Well, they realized with thousands and tens of thousands of people coming through and breaking off little pieces of the coral reef was actually destroying it. It was destroying it. It takes thousands of years for the smallest little bit of growth. Once it's there, it provides fish habitat, it cleans water, it does all these great and important things. What happens with government is the same thing. We have people who get into roles in government and think, well, that's okay, there's so much money around, I'll break off a little piece. I just sort of tuck that away. And we have so many thousands of people, and it's grown so far out of control. I wish I could remember the name of it, but there's another analogy that's commonly used in a different setting that pertains to a type of very pervasive weed that spreads and grows. It's almost impossible to kill. You have to rip it out by the roots and poison the thing. I'm not beyond the point now with what we've discovered with Doge of approaching our bloated, overpriced, misspending, fiscally irresponsible government that's federal and state with the same tenacity and the same viewpoint. I see it all the time. I see it at the county level. I'm commenting on it here. I see it at the state level. I see it all over the country and all over the world. We have these things that we agree to pay with our to fund with our tax dollars that when you look at it, it's nonsensical. I work in finance. So for somebody to come and tell me that your average light fixture costs $800,000 or that it costs $2 million to fill a pothole, that's the reason for it, because we have all these people who are siphoning money off. Get back to that fundamental philosophy of protecting. One last piece to that, and I've actually come to this conclusion through watching states like California, Illinois, Michigan, New York, and growing parts of Ohio. Think of it this way. Representative Gross talked about the pork that's in many of these bills, and that's just extra money, that's slush money that's soaked up and disappears through government misappropriation. You often find that it's a family member or spouse or some college roommate or somebody ends up with a couple $1 million contract to do basically nothing, and they're just funneling money out of taxpayers and into their hands. I just choose to look at it this way. For every little bit of pork, just assume that there are about 1,000 people that are going to be homeless next year. That's where we are. I think we need to get back to the basic concept that we are our brother's keeper. We need to do a better job of demanding fiscal responsibility from our government.
Well, yeah, we do. We do have to do a better job, but it's getting to the point where just saying we have to do a better job. We've almost got to doge the government, the state government, federal government, whatever. We just got to doge it already. And last thing here, I'll ask Jennifer one last question, then we'll call it a night. But does state legislators, I don't think anything as substantial is going to happen with the property taxes. I don't think they want to go that direction or mess with it. And I think that is what has led to this citizen initiative to abolish them altogether, burn it down, start over. Now, the hard part, of course, is we got to get 420,000 legit signatures, which is a massive undertaking. I don't know if these guys have wrapped their heads around it, like Brian and them. I don't think they've wrapped their heads around it, John Marr and stuff. Just what a colossal undertaking that is going to be. And you got to get like 800,000 signatures because some of them are going to be duplicates.
Yes.
People are going to sign multiple clipboards. Some people aren't going to put their real name down because they don't want to. They'll, so a lot of them don't count, and you need almost twice as many in these to make this happen. So let me just throw that at you. If the state legislature, what is their temperature when it comes to property taxes? And then we'll just call it a night. How's that?
I think we did have the Property Tax Commission last General Assembly. None of the things that came out of there were particularly super conservative. So there wasn't anything in there that I loved. But the people on the commission, as hard as they worked, I loved Representative Romer, but it wasn't like the solid meat the people were looking for, in my humble opinion. And like I said, there are 40 plus bills right now in the legislature, all various forms. My auditor, Nancy Nix, believes, and the Auditors Association have a couple of bills. I believe it's HB 186 and another, that is one of the best ones right now that we're working on. But the gist of it is, and I have a little note, if you guys will indulge me, the gist of it is that if we cut the property tax, there's going to have to be a change. So that means that maybe the counties will have to increase sales tax. So Butler County has one of the lowest sales taxes. So it's possible, and I love my commissioners. I love where we're at right now. I think they've done a great job. But if we do away with property tax, then we'd have to increase sales tax. I think that's fair. I mean, Tennessee has a 9.4% sales tax, but no property tax, or very little. I mean, they still have some, but like we own some land there and it's like less than $1,000 a year for, 43 acres of land.
Wow.
I mean, I thought we paid a lot in Butler County, but I was talking to someone who owns a home there for $550,000 in Hilliard. He pays $13,000 a year in property tax. He has 2 young girls. Do you know how? I mean, let's say we cut him to $5,000 a year. I mean, what could he do with $4,000 a year? He could be putting in a college fund for his daughters. So, I mean, I just look at the amount of property tax that people are paying, and we have to do something. So, one thing, the counties may have to increase sales tax. 2, there may not be an income tax relief. There may be an increased income tax in certain areas. I know that Ross, in my district, has an income tax just for the schools already in Ross Township. So they pull in money through a special income tax for the schools. So it may just have to be, adjusted, but also there doesn't appear to be a lot of appetite to reduce spending in the legislature. And that also, in my opinion, I don't know how you make us stop spending money, but you need more, and if I dare say, you need more fighters like myself that are willing to do the hard thing, and if need be, cut the spending and get unelected, because it's going to be painful. I mean, it's hard to make change, and then the people can be, very angry for reasons that they don't understand. And if you're the one at the helm when the uncomfortable situation occurs, you get the blame. And I'm willing to take that chance. But a lot of people don't want to get unelected,
Right.
I have an idea.
Yes, sir.
It just occurred to me while you were talking. The first thing is, I'm going to hold up my mug here and show off the delicious tea that I'm drinking with my Ohio Political News. So it just occurred to me, putting together your comments I was talking with my comments earlier about creating homelessness. When we're creating such an untenable tax burden on some Ohioans that it's kind of like, I actually met for coffee with somebody recently who was talking about and he actually did this sort of gesture. He was talking about the increasing taxes and talked about how many people are kind of up to here in the water, and they're just sort of barely breathing. And the slightest little increase, and they're underwater, and people just drown and can't survive. That's what leads to homelessness. And then, of course, you get the left who are like, if only we increase taxes more, then we'll be in a better place to create shelters for homeless and everything. But look how that's working out for Southern California. It's been promising home building for 20 years, and they're just tent cities everywhere. So how about maybe what we should do is we'll just get a little pool kitty together, and we'll get one of those comfy tour buses and go and invite some of our legislators onto the tour bus and go and visit some of these homeless tent cities that are now flourishing, because there are people that can't simply afford to pay their rent. They lose their car gets repossessed. They can't afford to eat. Utilities going up. All of that is traceable and can be tracked back to misappropriation of funds and the overspending. So yeah, it's painful. It's painful to think about, because there's so many people that have all built up all around the capital in Ohio and just leech money out of that system. And it's an ecosystem with uber wealthy getting more uber wealthy. But those people need to be confronted with the realities of the world that they have shaped in Ohio. And that is ever increasing hardship, financial strife, and homelessness. Pack them on a bus. We'll hand out some nice little bottled water and some sodas and stuff, and drive into one of those tent cities and let them get off the bus and go in and shake hands and meet some of those people who now can't afford the basic necessities of life because the money was taken from their community and now resides in Columbus.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say on this, too, is a lot of people that go on to Social Security, they retire and stuff, there's a drastic decrease in their income, but those property taxes don't decrease. Those are the ones that are hit the hardest, and it's terrible. It's very, very terrible. So we got to come up with something. The people have to come up with something, and we will. All right, guys, we're going to say goodnight tonight, and we'll do it again soon, all right? Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank
you,
you.
Jonathan. Thank you, guys. And
good night.
Good night. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.